Podcast. Or I have some stuff I missed on Korn, the coverage of the article of Heriot as the new face in British metal, OZZY, Prince of Darkness, and the birthdays and album reviews. Or birthdays and album artist spotlight, not album. Birthdays of these albums: the UK black metal legends Cradle of Filth have a new album coming out that I do not have any other details about whatsoever, aside from what the guitarist Cashtag mentioned on the Scars and Guitars podcast about them having already finished all the album, being ready to put out next year, beginning of next year, and the following album's writing process already having started. So these birthdays that we have coming up as the band puts out is consistent with putting out and releasing their albums at this time of year. Nymphetamine, his birthday just happened, and some of my favorite tracks on the album are Filthy Little Secret and more. But this whole album is honestly pure solid gold in all actuality, from front to back. And a little story about this album is that I purchased it through a third party, basically, so the band didn't get any of my money, perhaps. But this is when they were under what record label was it? This is when they were under the record label of somewhere in New York City. I can't remember the name of the record. It doesn't distract from the importance of the story. The story of I'm missing a showing up on time for a house concert to do this. So I hope you guys enjoy as much as I am. Not knowing the name of the record label does not distract from the importance of the story. That I was in Oregon once with that album in my back pocket, literally in my back pocket. As I sat down, I cracked the CD and was so busted, bent out of shape, and broken from this experience, and then so happy and excited about, and happy birthday Nymphetamine, happy and excited about it being shaped like a badass talon, like a raven's talon, or a hawk's talon, or an eagle's talons, or a demon's talons, or something sharp, or some kind of very sharp tooth. And it served as my guitar pick for a long time. A guitar pick that I played on my guitar that I named Myrne. And the name of the record label ceases to be important at all at this point. But happy birthday, Nymphetamine. Also, happy birthday, Cryptoriana and the Seductiveness of Decay. Happy birthday, Dusk and her Embrace. Look for the remastered version of this 1996 release from Cradle of Filth. One of my favorite tracks being Heaven Torn Asunder. Favorite tracks from Cryptoriana? I can't think of, but I have some favorite tracks on there as well. Cruelty and the Beast, happy birthday. Also has a remastered version with a special name. Each one has special names for the remastered versions. The 1998 release with tracks featuring the likes of Bathory Aria, Cruelty Brought the Orchids. Missed Hammer of the Witch's birthday, but The Flowering the Maidenhead is one of my fave tracks from the whole band. those are birthdays here in September. Releases coming up in October for the album. Birthdays are, and here in the United States, Grammy-nominated metal band, metalcore band Trivium, their first album, Ember to Inferno, in about a week or so, has an album somewhat overshadowed by the band's future albums, but the frontman, guitarist, and bassist are all the same members, and Matt has stated that their current drummer is a, and I quote, heaven sent, Alex Bent. New metal pioneers Korn with the critically disappointing Life is Peachy album, Happy Birthday, featuring the likes of some of my favorite Korn songs ever, Adidas, Twist, Chi, and Ass Itch. Also coming up for album birthdays in the month of October, Polish black metal legends Heriot on their album, that was my anthem, and goes through some towns. I don't mind sharing some of this stuff. I Love You at Your Darkest, 2018 release featuring Oracle Moses Lucifer. There's the other one that I get it mixed up with. I always mix up Oracle Moses Lucifer with it must be Oracle Moses Lucifer because it's not Evo. I'm thinking of Evo. It's not Evo. Oracle Moses Lucifer. Happy birthday. I Love You at Your Darkest. More Turtle Self album birthdays coming up in October. Following, Manticore and Other Horrors also has a remastered version with a special name as well, called Extra Talons, or Extra Claws, Extended Claws Edition. It's Manticore and the Other Horrors Extended Claws. Frost on Her Pillow, Huge Onyx Wings Behind Despair are a couple tracks that are my favorite. One, you check out my official Mickey GemInEye YouTube channel, you could find out how I happen to just play the damn shit on my guitar. Midian, the 2000 release, that was a 2013 Manticore. The Midian is 2000. They have Saffron's Curse, still withstanding the tests of time, and also featured on their most recent actual release. While we wait until next year for the new album, you can always check out Trouble in Their Double Lives, with the live versions selected and curated by whom? Not sure. I'd have to interview these bands myself to find out why they chose that version of Saffron's Curse. Quite possibly performed in Germany on that edition of the album. And Thornography, the 06 release, has tracks that I favor over others, such as I Am the Thorn and Byronic Man. Moving along to the last two, Godspeed on the Devil's Thunder is the 2008 release that has, only on the extended version, a reprised recording of Courting Baphomet. And if you're Baphomet or Baphomet, hey, don't be shy, drop in the comments. I'm a Baphomet pronunciation or person. Not a Baphomet. I'm a Baphomet guy, not a Baphomet guy. I don't know. Tell me what you think of the final birthday coming up to say happy birthday. Existence Futile, 2021 release, where How Many Tears to Nurture a Rose and Existential Terror are my favorites off the album. Tell me yours. Those intro to part 3. Guys, gals, and just regular animals. Excuse me. Let's grind it out. For album reviews on this Anthems to the Wacken at Dusk Emporer release. First of all, the artwork here has a bit of the me wondering how long that we can go without truly appreciating this. That it appears to be something special that it just isn't special anymore. Fuck that entire attitude altogether. Seriously, fuck that. This is just as special as it was when it was released, but I just recently started. I'm this baby I'm just this little baby over here that doesn't seem to have any place to speak. You don't have any place to talk about anything. So I have to, for the time being, sound like a little bit of a dunce for a while, but that's fine. I'm sure that this album was probably just as enjoyable listening to it before or for the first time as it was for me listening to this album for the first time right now. That it featuring these tracks of me choosing my favorites just based on the way like the title sounds, that Thus Spake the Night Spirit being one, and The Loss of Curse of Reverence, the other one that I listen to the most on here. And then of course the Wander instrumental, just not long enough of an instrumental for me and my current project that I'm working on, the experimental styles I'm working with that extend way beyond 2 minutes and 54 seconds. But Opus A Satana being a very reverent ode to the Dark Lord here on this black metal classic, Anthems to the Wellin at Dusk from Emporer, the symphonic black metal, opening with Alps Varcher, the Oath. This is UK black metal, and the owls that you instantly hear. I have to comment on this guitar progression though that it opens up with. Unfortunately, I can't play it for you due to copyright issues, but I can tell you the journey that it took me on here for this 4 minutes and 18 seconds of all instrumental before reaching all instrumental, and then the guitar being in a positive way before reaching a swift down notes and negative side, and followed by the whispering and the screeching, like the screaming and the screeching that finds its way into a perfect crescendo as the album is arranged and was arranged by somebody that has it stop swiftly as well and then hit Ye and Trance Imperium on a Blast Beats classic black metal intro for those first two tracks. And that about wraps up the amount of time that I have for this album review, as I do not have much more else to say about it. But with Strength I Burn being the longest track on here, I would have to say that would be my favorite just based on the length. But this whole thing is an excellent piece of art. For the few tracks that I've heard on the next album review, I will only be allowed to provide limited amounts of expertise, as I aim to actually try and actually provide the best quality as possible. For Firtan and their recently released album Ethos, the artwork featuring two white-robed women, uncloaked, holding daggers to the sky with their right arm, and sort of mirrored, but really painting so many words here in the mind of the one image of her is clear and the other one is half shrouded in a faceless style, and the ones behind her just completely gone, aside from her hands and daggers pointing up the sky. So you can make that up with what you will. You go being a person who appreciates good art and be a good art lover and be good at it as well, considering that the message being conveyed here is ultimately would have to boil down to, with me, that the only thing you leave left in your legacy is the courage that you bring to the battlefield. And they have other languages and for their track names other than English, so skipping through to check these out here. They all seem to be a different language of some sort of German, Finland, I believe they're from. But that is Ethos from Firtan. Now that we're going to crack into here in the magazine and open up that part of Korn that I missed, I have to go and say, well, I was doing the editing for these videos and saw that I opened it up with that. They went to Loathe, Wargasm, Spirit Box, and then back to Korn. So I'll have to pick up where that was. On saying that there are people who have been waiting decades to see Korn play a show of this magnitude, and of course the band are never going to let them down. What follows is an unforgettable greatest hits set, powering out of the starting blocks with Rotting in Vain. Interested to hear that that's a classic, or greatest hit, considering it's very new. That's a release from 3 years ago. 3 years ago, rather. Here to Stay from the album Untouchables. Adidas from Life is Peachy, Happy Birthday. And a glorious, brutal, rapturously received Clown from, of course, the self-titled album. The one that is arguably their best. And of course, if you're a real Korn fan, you have to contrast this with the others and look at the levels and dynamics of how the albums were released. And you should, if you want to play the game of this being a really huge fan of this band, you have to muddy up your style and contrast it a bit with some people's other opinions. Otherwise, it's not a challenge. And what follows is an unforgettable greatest hits set of those tracks. Head, the guitarist, and Monkey, his guitar. Head and Monkey's guitar tag teaming might be the finest the genre has produced since the classic lineup of Judas Priest. Stand-in bassist Rod Diaz gleefully batters his instrument like he's a character from Street Fighter, and Ray Luzier is now fully established as the band's finest drummer. That was David Silvera's shoes that he's filling. He's JD, and he can rock his band's name on his wrist guard. The following words read as such before we close off Korn. But the main man is still Jonathan Davis, decked out in a shiny green Adidas tracksuit. You could buy the purple version at the merch stand today for 180 pounds. By the way, his balls, croons, screams, and scats still sounding completely unique. Korn may have been copied countless times, but no one has come close to replicating Jonathan's voice, presence, or mannerisms. This alchemy means that the likes of Good God, Blind, Got the Light, Falling Away From Me, Divine, and a closing euphoric Freak on a Leash sound as fresh and vital as they did all those years ago when Korn were in the process of changing metal forever. It's a special thing to finally see Korn elevated to the status they have richly deserved for so long, and surely more big headliners will now follow. Winterfelleth and the Imperious Horizon from Candlelight Records is Manchester's black metal leaders painting a turbulent future. With the more UK stuff, here on this UK magazine, and announcing the birthdays of some UK metal albums. This album review is going to be a combination of what I'm reading here and my view on this album at the same time. Winterfelleth are firmly into veteran status now, but album 8 sees them slathering on the grandeur like there's always a taller mountain to climb. This affecting my view, those are their words, these are mine. This affecting my view of it sees what the agreement, it literally just sees how the sway of reading this stuff can persuade and affect my view on it, as I can see what they're saying. I do have to read on, but I really don't have to read on, though. And them saying this and then looking at how they literally have 8 out of 10 squares, 8 out of 10 stars, that makes me have to read on then, if they're saying 8 out of 10, but that they're slathering on Grandeur. I just simply looked at it as the album as a little bit more of something that can agree with what they're saying based on its moderation, that it has highs and lows and it's not a constant blast. But reading on now for more of their words. The lead guitars of the Imperious Horizon sound like the result of a brainstorm with the word epic in the middle. It's rare to hear a black metal band formed after the 90s who are so immediately recognizable, and it imbues their albums with a sense of charging conviction. Then, just to take the piss a bit, primordial singer Alan Averill delivers a surprise turn on In Silent Grace, in a moment that feels so climactic given the two bands' long-standing kinship. To the Edge of Tyranny gives a taste of the murkier aggression that characterized their debut. There's a couple tracks that I'm going to want to check out then. In Silent Grace featuring Alan Averill, and To the Edge of Tyranny, with a murkier aggression that characterized their debut, The Ghost of Heritage. But Winterfelleth have since grown into one of our most reliable suppliers of the monumental. So the imagery on the cover being a snowy mountain storm, and the logo at the bottom. The band logo at the bottom. I mean, this is really, this is just really, it has the air of we're telling you a story, and then the story being the premise of To the Edge of Tyranny, and their debut, The Ghost of Heritage, getting the positive reviews from this album reviewer and positive reviews from me. It's just a great album. You want to check it out. Winterfelleth. Next up, we have a couple side tracks, detours, after getting to the album review of Heriot, before covering the article on Heriot. That their album got another 8 out of 10 stars for fans of Pupil Slicer, the UK electro metal band Ithaca, and Svalbard. Heriot, the Century Media release of Devoured by the Mouth of Hell, has Metal Hammer UK saying this: the Midlands Next Generation Metal Champions unleash a dream debut. Heriot might just be the most exciting young band in the UK right now. The Swindon Birmingham Quartet have been making waves ever since they added guitarist and co-vocalist Debbie Go to their lineup in 2019 and started creating a metallic blend of ambient, hardcore, thrash, and industrial. Metal's top brass, Lamb of God, Trivium, and Machine Head's Rob Flynn love them. The band released excellent EP Profound Morality in 22, and following high-profile tour support slots with Lamb of God, Zeal and Ardor, and Svalbard, the hype around them has only increased. Their long-awaited debut album justifies it. What sets Heriot apart is the vastness and extreme extremities of their sound. Recorded with the Dream Team, Josh Middleton of Ex-Architects and Solosis. Produced while Sixth's Justin Hill and Fit for an Autopsy's Will Putney assumed engineering and mixing duties. Devoured by the Mouth of Hell sounds like the confident work of a far more experienced band. At their heaviest, they feel genuinely dangerous. If you had to convey the claustrophobia of Harm Sequence and Siege Lord in an image, it would be a hopeless, filthy chamber where the walls are closing in for a crushing death. Yet there is light amid the bleakness, expanding on the melodic experimentation that they've only toyed with in the past. Here the band have embraced their love for shoegaze and electronica, seamlessly sewing together textures and tones and creating full tracks from surprising influences. These additions could feel jarring, yet the album never feels disjointed. The specter of Nine Inch Nails stalks the beat of Lashed, while tracks such as Opaline and Visage, wrapped in clean, shoegazy melodies and dreamy vocals, mark a new frontier for what we should expect from extreme music. Heriot's future is very, very bright indeed. Heriot, both to the sound of the walls closing in and infinite possibilities. We're going to take a detour and then hit that main article on this band. The recent release of Mimi Barks and her This Is Doom Trap is a London-based trap metal queen makes an enthralling debut. Rumor maker. Mimi Barks is on her way to become a household metal name. The London-based trap metaler writes and co-produces all of her own music. This time around, she's working with Silent Cult to release her debut full-length album following her 2022 mixtape Dead Girl. Opener FSU melds frantic industrial beats with harsh electronica, hip-hop, and metal for an instant impact. House full of fakes. Slows the tempo, its lulling beat becoming distorted, before allowing haunting sections of argumentative back and forth to break through the noise. Mimi's voice is saturated, 7 out of 8 stars, is saturated with malice and aggression, her screams interrupting the sonic wall with impressive impact. Her approach is often feral, launching into rap verses, spoken word, soaring melodies, and frenzied growls with constant enthusiasm. Having been open about the fact that Dead Girl served as an avenue for the reinvention of herself as a person, you'd be forgiven for assuming that This Is Doom Trap wouldn't be as personally important to Mimi's journey. However, throughout the album, her lyrics speak of psychotic episodes, medicated fever dreams, and interpersonal struggles, showing she's not afraid of expressing herself in a brutally honest fashion. Mimi demonstrates a jarring mashup of crunchy, distorted bass, harsh vocals, and chaotic, frenzied riffs. Disgusted brings a more traditionally metalcore song structure into the mix as a well-needed deviation, because where This Is Doom Trap struggles in its length, Mimi is an expert in trap metal, but not at diversification. And while her lyrical content is enthralling, the soundtrack to her story feels like it drags on. Despite this, her talent and adaptability shines, particularly when she strips the layers back and allows her music to breathe, as on Final Destination, Death Without Satisfaction. Mimi's personality and ability to show her raw self make This Is Doom Trap well worth your time. For fans of Ghostmane, Scarlord, as I was saying in episode 38. Well, if we mosey on over to Heriot and have any other detours, it'll be a pleasant surprise. As much as I'd like to see a pleasant surprise as this is, it's really more of a requirement that I briefly brush over this Nightwish Yesterwynde Nuclear Blast release for having 9 out of 10 stars. Chronicles of Narnia OST is a band similar to them, and I have not heard of Chronicles of Narnia OST, so I just struck them out, quite possibly, as well as Within Temptation, though I know Epica and Within Temptation are just as supreme as these guys, and the pushing of the new album here is a very big deal. One problem with bands leaving 5-year gaps. Symphonic Finns rediscover the heavy gold on album 10. One problem with bands leaving 5-year gaps between albums is that if one comes out that you're not so keen on, you end up waiting a decade for new material you can get behind. The previous 2020 release of Human Number 2, Nature. The album is described as a diverse hodgepodge of folk, pop, music theater, alt-rock, world music, orchestral bells and whistles, maudlin sentimentality, and ponderous pomposity. With grand operatic metal being the main There's a few other things here described in this album, such as an Ocean of Strange Lands track being the longest song on their shortest LP in 20 years. It's a comparatively compact 69 minutes, setting out their stall with a heartening reassertion of core Nightwish principles. This is maintained throughout all 12 songs. They've been robust headbangers, making robust headbangers like Anti-Kythera Mechanism, Something Whispered, Follow Me, as an enigmatic theatrics implementation to their repertoire, with the flowery gothic pop metal of Spider Silk and glittering advance of cut of Perfume on the Timeless. I mean, I've got to contain my excitement about such a thing, but how could I? And how could I honestly contain my excitement about such a thing, really? It says here Nightwish won't tour this album, which seems a shame. So many songs spin a compel, communal emotional reaction. But there's a more intimate, even introspective vibe to this album. As a cute but torturous neologism and around nostalgia. For the Finnish sextet, it's their proggiest record yet. Viewed through the prism of ancestral bloodlines, the concept coming alive with a more human essence, making relatable sense of philosophical abstractions without the studenty chin stroking, pushing all the emotional buttons while putting fists in the air. Nightwish finds the strongest form for a moon, and I will be excited about doing a bit of an album review on this, of course. As I read the caption, winding their way through an epic musical journey. On the wordplay, nice job, friends. I mean, nice job, Metal Hammer UK. Same thing, Metal Hammer UK, friends, whatever. The other detours, there's not a detour, it's more of a heads up that the OZZY and his article will be after. Stay tuned after this brief sponsored break. Yeah, that was actually a good premiere track right there of a track I wrote in Northern California in a tent in the mountains, and Well, when you're doing this kind of thing, you sort of, the way that I do it, you sort of have to refer to it as given to me from like fairies and the fairy folks. So I hope you enjoyed that snippet. It's available in Darkest Pitch of Black. The one that has two different versions of it up. The totally black one and the one where I'm just black. Anyway, it's black metal, so enjoy. These guys, just regular metal. They're very popular. I'm leery about checking them out because of that fact. And here they are doing their thing. But you know I'm going to, and you know I'm going to have to because they're so popular. Heavy, blissful, and experimental. Heriot are here, and they're the new face of British metal. Let's fucking go! Heriot drummer Julian Gage has jumped to his feet behind his kit, his face contorted with rage and adrenaline. Eyeballing the crowd, he gestures wildly with his arms, orchestrating the mosh. On either side of him, singer-guitarist Debbie Go, guitarist Aram Allman, and bassist, co-vocalist Jake Packer exchange knowing grins before streamrolling into a hulking riff powerful enough to turn your insides to jelly. Cue chaos. And so hearing that adrenaline, I'm going to play a snippet of Adrenaline. Enjoy that too. There's this particular buzz surrounding Heriot right now over the last few years. The quartet had become one of the most talked about bands in the UK underground. They formed in 2014, but it was their 2020 single Cleansed Existence that really introduced their impressive blend of tar-thick, hardcore, industrial, and death metal. It has to be clearly stated here that what people refer to as the underground, especially in any magazine coverage, typically is not underground, and that me arguing the point is not going to have much substance to bring to the table to argue that point. So they are, there are going to have to be moments where people have something to say about what I'm referring to as the underground, and then the underground. There's the underground, and then there's the underground. So this is like the underground. But there's a particular buzz surrounding Heriot right now. Empire State's Bastards dressing room is right next door to Heriot's, and as they settle back on lumpy couches for interview, they hear all manner of strange noises coming through the walls. Manic laughter, loud clangs of metal, and what sounds like experimental jazz. Collage of posters plastered on the walls shows all the bands who have played this small Yorkshire venue and their way to greatness over the years. Among them, Lamb of God, local heroes Bring Me the Horizon, and Architects. I'm in awe that people give a shit about us, says Erhan Allman. I pulled moods from Silent Hill. Packer says. So that's how I want to introduce the band and do the articles to introduce myself and my viewers into this music and this culture. with the occasional indulgence and sidetracks and getting whatever. I'm not going to be doing the same thing. It's let it be clearly said here as well, also right now, that they're not going to be able to. These episodes of these issues of the magazine are not going to be so 3-parted or hour-long or any of that stuff. But this is some of the stuff that I can include. I pulled moods from Silent Hill, being something Packer said here on this article about the non-metal influences that shaped Heriot's debut album. Wand. So, Debbie says Australian psych shoegaze band Wand have always been a great reference point in creating a mellow shoegaze-esque atmosphere within Heriot's sound. Their album Golem was a huge source of inspiration in aiming to capture depth within our clean sections. Khan and Neek the Bug. Packer states a big influence on the post-production atmosphere of the record stemmed from my love of industrial artists like Justin Broderick and Scorn, and dubby bass music artists like Khan and Neek and the Bug. Their ability to create atmosphere and dread is unmatched. In my head, it pairs perfectly with the elements of metal, hardcore, we bring to the table. Sophie. Debbie says, another influence on our debut came from late electronic producer artist Sophie. Something that's always stands out for me in her technique of creating abrasive, harsh, industrial noises, which illustrate a vivid picture in your mind. In particular, the track Lashed was greatly inspired by Sophie's work. I pulled moods from some of the early Silent Hill games I used to play on the PlayStation 1. Refamiliarizing myself with these soundtracks inspired the ambiance throughout the album. They took the stage in 2016's Bloodstock, but things only really started to take off when they brought Debbie into the fold in 2019. Heavy doesn't have to start with guitars, Debbie says. Now, speaking on an issue of with the ear monitors and then having it be something that is helping them get more experience, she states, we're more accustomed to how things run and we're just becoming a more experienced band. Heriot presents a fresh alternative to today's homogeneous electronic whinge metal, ushering in a much welcome grinding intensity to the UK scene. Empire State Bastards Mike Venner tells us a few days after Bastard Fest, I sincerely hope Debbie inspires an entire generation of women to pick up guitars and scream their fucking heads off. In the dressing room at Bastard Fest, the band are certainly up for the challenge of representing the new wave of British metal. We want to keep pushing boundaries on what we think Heavy could be. As long as we don't create something for the sake of other people, that's what matters most. I still don't feel like this is our job. We still have so many more things to tick off the bucket list. There's still so much for us to do, and it's so refreshing. Still so fresh and exciting. And Devoured by the Mouth of Hell is out on September 27th via Century Media. Let's go fucking crazy to celebrate Osbourne's imminent introduction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We asked metal's biggest names to pick the Prince of Darkness' greatest songs from deep cuts to all-time classics. Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath is Within Temptations. Sharon Den Edel's inspiration because it's so atmospheric. and Time Bound. Probably her way of dodging saying nostalgia or something. Where she discovered all this heavy music she loves so much. War Pigs is Skindred's Benji Webb favorite way of saying War Pigs says it all for me. The lyrics are so fucking relevant. Unfortunately, even more so as time's gone on. You could break that apart and dissect that into little pieces just like this. He's saying something a little bit surprising there. He's saying it's surprising to me for him to say it's unfortunate that a song would be better growing with time. Well, it is unfortunate when the song is about war, when the song is about war pigs and it getting better with time. Implying the unspoken things that normally go unspoken by humans, that is being spoken by me right now, technically human, that says things like, well, obviously the guy still has, you know, he's exposing something about us here in this industry who create this music and people who talk about this music that, well, we still have a compassionate side. So it is unfortunate that a fucking relevant song like War Pigs has gotten better as time's gone on. He goes on to speak about OZZY, where he says he met him twice, and how he's genuinely a legend, and no matter what he's doing, even if he's just scoffing a bag of chips in the corner, he's still a proper star. That is the words of Benji Webb from Skindred, another UK artist of reggae metal. It's metal reggae fused together. But it's metal's first and best anti-war song, being referred to by whomever it is that puts these together. All available in the contents. If you want to subscribe, this is Metal Hammer UK, October issue 2024. If you want to subscribe to this, first subscribe to me, and then make sure you get your news directly from me and how I do it, as I just post these once a week. And you can subscribe to this on magazinesdirect.com/mh. Iron Man is Andy Carnes from Therapy. Therapy? Andy Carnes from Therapies? Favorite song from Black Sabbath's Iron Man. Clanging existentialist despair with a comic book twist. Fu Manchu. His member Scott Hill. His favorite song is Sweet Leaf. As the birth of stoner metal. That's Tony Iommi. And OZZY on stage in 1978 in New York's Madison Square Garden. But Merker is referencing Solitude from the Black Sabbath album Masters of Reality, released 1971, as a surprising show of fragility from the Princes of Darkness. She's a huge Sabbath fan, and so is her son. He loves a lot of that classic rock stuff, and I won't even pretend that wasn't what I'm doing. It's all me. I really love Solitude. I can't believe he sings that. It's such a beautiful song, and his voice is so different. It's incredibly English too, almost riffing on the Celtic folk idea, and the production sounds so simple, even though there's so much going on in both his vocals and the instrumentals. The lyrics are very unusual too. It's not really a metal thing to be like, I'm sad, I'm lonely. It's almost more like an old folk singer. It's such a beautiful song. I wish they'd made a whole album like that, but then I guess we'd miss the riffs. OZZY's vocals range is insane. It's just Merker. Bill Bailey. Al Jorgensen of Ministry, Kenny Hickey of Typo Negative, Will Gold from Creeper, Tom Templar of Green Lung, Michael Akerfelt from Opeth, Jason Allen Butler from Fever 33 all have something to say about their favorite Black Sabbath and OZZY creations, including Chelsea Leach of Killswitch Engage and Kerry King of Slayer. Rob Trujillo of Metallica says Diary of a Madman is one of the most complete songs in metal. Beartooth, Caleb Shomo, OZZY himself says Mama I'm Coming Home is his favorite song, his personal pick. I've got a real soft spot for Mama I'm Coming Home. I didn't write the lyrics, Lemmy did, but I told him exactly what I wanted to say. But I tell you what, I don't really have a personal favorite. People always ask what my favorite album I've done is. I don't have one. They are records of fun and chaos, or when I've been having a miserable fucking time. Each one is a reflection of me at the time. And Lizzie Hale, Ika Tapinen, Apocalypta, Janin Badua, Bloodywood, and Duff McKagan of Guns N' Roses. All leading up to this big, huge tidbit for me, where I'm just learning right now that the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction ceremony taking place on October 19th for the induction of Ozzy Osbourne in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Check out the coverage that I'll have on that day here in Vault of Doom podcast. I'm Mickey GemInEye. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And that is all that I have for you guys on this episode. Any of the pausings that I mentioned earlier, you're not going to be able to do that here. But, I mean, we could go to magazinesdirect.com/HMH and subscribe, or using your library card, download the Hoopla or Libby applications on your smartphone, enter in your library card, and download it the same way that I have, like this. And that concludes a three-parter, pretty lengthy three-parter, with a few snippets of my tracks and my creations that I make here in the Vault of Doom. It's been fun hanging out with you guys, and I've enjoyed every minute of it. I hope that you guys fucking stay tuned, like, share, subscribe, drop a comment in my Cash App, Cashtag being available, and all my descriptions and all my content will help keep this stuff going if you show your support. Thank you so very fucking much, guys. Well, there is another episode for you featuring the magazine that I prefer over Guitar World. I understand I haven't gotten those varieties added in yet with Guitar World, possibly Revolver, and even Zero Tolerance magazine for specifically extreme metal. But I'm looking into it right now and working on getting those varieties added into the show. But for right now, I'm just making do with what Metal Hammer UK has to offer and enjoying, loving every bit of it, as they have had a very extensive Slipknot coverage on this issue. So I hope that you enjoyed it. And I've also uploaded a few episodes before this one and a few after, so make sure that you enjoy all the content that I have been posting up recently. And don't forget to support the show with the links available in the show notes. Well, that's it. Episode 42 of the Vault of Doom podcast. I'm your host, Miss Mickey GemInEye. I almost said Mr. I don't even say Mr. Mickey GemInEye. I'll just Mickey GemInEye. I'm Mickey GemInEye, the host. That wraps up the show, guys, and I'll see you next time.
Podcast.